Oh, hello, and welcome to another Today's Decay, where we celebrate births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. It is December 7th, and here are all the dates that were they right. 1898, on this day, Paula Maxa was born. She was was she the world's first scream queen? Perhaps. She was murdered on stage uh, in front of audiences at least 30,000 times, from what I have read, in all sorts of creative, gruesome ways. In the Grand Guignol, she starred for several decades in these like live horror stage plays that were never captured properly on film. I guess Mad Love's opening scene with Peter Lorre and Francis Drake, directed by Carl Freund, is maybe the best example of like what the Grand Guignol was. There's film stills, there's some scripts, there's some really lurid, great promotional artwork, but they never just like filmed it, which I think you can't really do because it was live stage theater stuff. So part of the appeal and the charm, and like you can't just stick a camera in a live venue and think this is gonna work. It ain't. But there are scripts and photos of her that still exist. Specifically, here's two really great books on the subject: Grand Guignol, The French Theater of Horror, by Richard J. Hand and Michael Wilson, and Mel Gordon's revised edition of the Grand Guignol Theater of Fear and Terror. It's definitely a good day to curl up with a good book or two, huh? Right. Yeah, what else? 1919 on this day. The film Victory premiered. I love this movie, and most people don't know it. Anybody I've shared it with is like blown away by it afterwards. Directed by Maurice Tourneur, who also got his start in France, filming Grand Guignol inspired stories, not actually capturing the Grand Guignol production, but creating his own, like the case of Dr. Tar, Professor Feather, and wax masks, I think. I forget, wax faces, something like that. Either way, none of those exist either. Those are all lost. One of his earlier films that does exist, though, is Victory. And man, what a good movie. It, in some ways, feels like a film noir, in like it's like shot being very conscious about framing and lighting and shadows, and like Venetian blind, or like slotted blinds with like these like dark high contrast backdrops that like you don't see in 1919. This belongs in like 1943 America B pictures, not Maurice Tourneur circa 1919. And it's a really early Lon Chaney Sr. movie as well, where he plays like a ominous pirate, I guess you'd say. Yeah. I was quite obsessed with this for a while, and here is they never made a photo play edition for the 1919 version, but here is a really early, I think it is 1919, book of Victory. It's a story by Joseph Conrad, who wrote Hearts of Darkness. I stupidly tried to read this years ago, and I got part of the way through. This is here. Oh, fun. Huh, that's cool. And the book's like coming apart, so I had to stop. But I learned my lesson. Don't mess with old stuff. Here was me and Mike Mortician. This is fun. I was using this as a bookmark. I got to page 265, so I was making good headway until the book fell apart on me. Here's a flyer for one of our old shows. For a bit, I was doing like a whole 1920s, 1930s Delta Blues DJ night with like all records, and I had read this Charlie Patton book about like how he got his start, like 1910, that they would play like these juke joints or like illegal house parties to like like rent parties, and you'd have like a dance party in the living room, gambling in the kitchen, and like prostitutes in like the bedroom. And this would go on for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And like the band was never just like a guy and a guitar, but rather like a guy and a guitar, a whole rhythm section, like, you know, a boogie woogie piano player, a upright bass, maybe a second guitar player, all because like this was all dance music, and they were up and dancing and having a great time for like days at a time. And so Juke Joint Howl, which was me and Mike's event for a little while, we'd have gambling in the back room of the show, and it was like DJing all as upbeat as we could find, 20s and 30s stuff as possible. No Chicago blues, all Delta stuff. I'm pretty proud of it. Ridiculous that I have these flyers just sitting around as bookmarks from forever ago, but there you go. Anyway, so that's this victory. And then here it is a photoplay version of Victory, but this is from like the 1940 production with Frederick March, which this is a really fun film, or maybe not fun film, that's the wrong term, but it's really striking. It's really stark. It feels very, almost like a surreal early television production, like early 1950s television production, just the way it's presented. And he's just like blacked out. The main character in this, it's like a post-World War I, and he just is determined to, his view after World War I is just like humanity is garbage, and he needs to like escape from the world and just go off on his own. And I think this was like kind of a trend at the time, not a uncommon one, and not all that impossible to understand, that like, you know, you get two people in a room together and they're eventually going to be at odds with each other and try to kill each other. And Victory was really just about one man's attempt to isolate himself from every other person on the planet. And did he or didn't he succeed? I won't tell you. You'll have to read the book or see the movie. And one of my proudest things I've got from the film, this is an original lobby card from 1919 for the production. And one of the things that's crazy about it, if you can see in this light, is, I don't know if like somebody did this randomly or was this like on purpose, but there's like glitter. Somebody put glitter on the lobby card. I have determined that that was done on purpose by the production company as a way to spice it up and get more eye-catching. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But anyway, see this movie, 1919 Victory. I don't know where it's available, streaming stuff. It's probably on YouTube for free. Right? Right. Yeah. What else? Oh, Marvin Shock Theater premiered today, 1957. Chicago horror hosts, sort of in like a Peter Lorre / meets Beatnik character, I'd say. And again, most of his stuff is lost. There's a couple of really cool short film clips. People were obsessed with him. He had like a wife who was always getting murdered, who was always like kind of off screen, sort of kind of, or you never see her face. And it could all be detailed, or it's here in Don Glut's book, Shock Theater, Chicago Style. I love this. Yeah, and they had a band, Deadbeats, as well on his show. There you go. Terrific. Just terrific. And so much of this is lost. So what is the point? Celebrate what's not here anymore, because if you don't, it's just completely disappeared from the universe, right? It was out there. It did exist. It did spend just as much time, like everything we just talked about, spent just as much time on this planet as we do on a day-to-day basis. You know, time moves just as fast or slow as it does now as it did then. They strived and created and did all sorts of wonderful stuff, and all we have is third-party people talking about how exciting it was. Is this a fourth party? I don't know. Either way, it is a party here on today's Decay. December 7th, your whole day. From me to you. Till tomorrow. Goodbye.